now
on News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
O'Connor and Company.
7:06 now on O'Connor and Company on a very busy Monday morning, the 9th day of October, this Columbus Day. We have full coverage for you of the events that are continuing to unfold minute by minute in Israel and in the Gaza territory. Coming up at 7:15, just in 10 minutes, Ben Weingarten will give us his perspective. 7:35, Marianne Jensen on the Prince William County School Board situation. 8:15, Mary Grabar on the Columbus Day observations. And then at 8:35, General Jack Keane will talk about America's involvement here, including the carrier group Gerald Ford mobilizing into the area. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka.
Hey, good morning, Larry.
Good to have you on a Monday. Thanks for being here. Thanks for helping us through this. Joining us now, as we always have on a Monday, I should say, is Joe diGenova, legal analyst and former U.S. Attorney to the District of Columbia. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Larry.
I got a couple of things I want to get to with you. Or before we ask about what's going on in Israel and legal aspects of the Biden administration's $6 billion. I don't want to. I follow up on the story of Matthew Graves, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Last week we had Julie Kelly, who's done a pretty terrific expose on Mr. Graves and his wife, Fatima Goss Graves, and their political activism. You've often pointed out that much of the problem that we see in D.C. right now with regard to violent crime is because this man, as U.S. Attorney, is sleeping on the job. And even Democrat Phil Mendelson in the district council has complained about the U.S. Attorney's office here. Based on this new information that we have, I mean, is the U.S. Attorney's office basically a political functionary at this point for the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. And it's a disgrace to the Department of Justice and for all of us who are alumni of that office. It is an embarrassment that we have such a political hack as the United States Attorney. This is truly an embarrassment. This guy is so bad at his job. He really belongs at the Democratic National Committee. He doesn't belong in the U.S. Attorney's Office or the Justice Department. And I think it's disgraceful. I have to be very careful because I don't want to say anything that'll get us in trouble with the Federal Communications Commission. But the bottom line is this. Julie Kelly's article strips bare any notion that this guy is a law enforcement official. And for the people of the District of Columbia who don't like him, you're getting exactly what you deserve. This is what you voted for, 90% for Biden. This is the Department of Justice you wanted. This is the Department of Justice you got. You didn't want to help get National Guard people for January 6th. We have an idiot for a mayor. We have a bunch of morons on the city council. And now they have a U.S. attorney equal to them. If
I could tag that quickly, Patrice, before you jump in here, this also speaks volumes about the Biden administration and Merrick Garland, that this is the person they put in place in the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. And whoever the the next Republican president better understand that and put their own U.S. attorney in there who will really get the job done here. And that one appointment could actually make a huge difference despite the local government being as dysfunctional as Joe just laid out.
Absolutely. Well, the U.S. attorney has a fairly huge role in the politics and law of the city of the District of Columbia. Believe me, they didn't hold Walter Fauntroy, well, there's a name for you, didn't hold demonstrations against me at Liberty Square because they liked what I was doing. And that's because I was doing the right thing when they had thousands of people demonstrating against the United States Attorney. Where are they now? Where are their demonstrations now against Matthew Graves for not enforcing the law? Listen, he's as bad as Larry Krasner in Philadelphia. He's a Soros prosecutor. This guy is a real jerk. He's an embarrassment to the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I'm sure there are very good people in that office who are embarrassed by the record that he is establishing, or the lack of a record.
Well, you know what, Joe? Thanks for your unfiltered thoughts there. It's a pleasure for me to be on with you on a Monday to chat with you, especially considering the news over the weekend. And I think, obviously, it's horrific. Obviously, we support Israel, and I hope the U.S. government does fully. But I can't help, and a lot of us can't help but think, you know, the $6 billion that the U.S. government greenlighted for the Iranian government to use for milk for babies is probably will in the future fund attacks like what we saw this weekend. What is your take on what we're seeing right now and the U.S. government's foreign policy decisions related to this?
Well, I don't think that the word appeasement encapsulates seriously enough, but it's the word we use in our language for this administration. This is worse than Neville Chamberlain or anything closely approximating Neville Chamberlain. And let's get directly to the attack itself. Mm-hmm. This attack was authorized and paid for by Iran. Mm-hmm. We know from what we have seen on the ground that war crimes and crimes against humanity were committed by Hamas and the Iranian-inspired forces. That means that the Ayatollah and the president of Iran are war criminals. Now, who is going to say that from the United Nations and elsewhere? You will hear crickets. But let me start the discussion right now. The Ayatollah and the president of Iran are war criminals. Crimes against humanity and war crimes have been committed and continue to be committed by Hamas in Israel. And so that's that. Now, the $6 billion, you have to understand, our listeners, I know they do, but we have to say this. This administration is the dumbest, most ideologically committed bunch of stupefying people who have ever run a foreign policy. Robert Gates had it correct when he said that Joe Biden has been wrong about every national security issue for the last 40 years. From the day he took office, Biden proved that statement. Everything he has done, from the abysmal withdrawal from Afghanistan up until this, which this administration is partially responsible for. When you tell Iran, let's sit down and talk, we're going to give you $6 billion, we'll swap 5 for 5, terrorists for good people, and let's see what happens. These people are fools. They are capitulationists. They do not care. They are so dumb. All you have to do is watch Anthony Blinken. I don't want to see one more video of that moron playing his guitar at some event at the State Department. Yeah. That's not what he's there for. He's there to bring peace to the world and to use the force of the United States for the benefit of the good people all over the world. The atrocities that are happening in Israel are the direct result of this appeasement of this administration. And by the way, the 8 people in the House of Representatives who caused the removal of Kevin McCarthy have done something else. There is no House of Representatives right now because there is no speaker. So that means no meetings on the floor, no resolutions in support of Israel. It means they can't issue any subpoena. Do you know that if they issue a subpoena, it has no force and effect? If they send a letter demanding documents, it has no force and effect? These people are fools who did this. All they thought about was their own good and their own benefit. They didn't think about the country. They certainly didn't think about the Republican Party. But what a combination of events. Look at what could be happening on the House floor. Condemnations of Hamas, of Iran. None of that can happen because we don't have a House, because we don't have a speaker.
Joe, one quick question here. You hear from Anthony Blinken and apologists for the Biden administration when you point out the fact that pallets of cash during the Obama administration was given to the terror regime in Tehran, and now another $6 billion was guaranteed to them a few weeks ago. Yep. They'll say, oh, well, that's different money. I'm curious, when you prosecuted mob bosses and drug lords and things like that, organized crime, was that a defense they could use? Oh, no, that money goes into a different bank account. That was money for our groceries. That wasn't money that we utilized for our evil intentions.
No, and in fact, Larry, that's a very good point, because when you bring cases like that under conspiracy theories against large criminal organizations, one of the fundamental rules is that all the monies are fungible. That's right. It doesn't matter where the money is traced to. Once you have a dollar, another dollar can be spent for something else. And the truth is, this administration knows that. It's just that their arrogance, their vile consideration of public policy, these people actually support. They may condemn the demonstrations that went on in New York yesterday by the Socialist Democrats of America. They love it. This administration loves every anti-Israeli demonstration that they see. I'm amazed they weren't there in person cheering. The way they have treated Benjamin Netanyahu, you can have a difference of opinion with a leader, but tell me, who's our best ally in the Middle East? It's not even a close call. It's Israel, and always has been. What this administration, how they can go to sleep, how they can think with a clear conscience that they had nothing to do with this. These people are really either dumb or evil. I think the problem is they're both.
Joe diGenova, now more than ever. Thank you, sir. Great talking
Thank you
with
so
you.
much.
It is 7.
MAL.